For Tammy Brooks, the grief of losing her grandson is overwhelming, but she takes it day by day.
I really just put my faith in God, knowing that He sit high and He knows everything. So that helps me to carry through.
5-year-old Landon Brooks was shot and killed nearly 2 weeks ago. He was sitting in a car in the Echo Highlands Park neighborhood with his mother, Arkia Brooks, and her boyfriend, Eric Ashley. All three died, and no one has been arrested.
I will ask God to have mercy on both of them and for them to ask for forgiveness and, turn themselves in.
Brooks' son, Ladarius, was found dead in a burning apartment in 2020. The unanswered questions she still has about his death make her grief that much harder to bear.
It was like a womb open up again with a lot of unanswered questions. And I only can just stand in faith, praying and hoping that God bring justice to both of their cases.
In a quiet Birmingham neighborhood, a mother, her young son, and her boyfriend were found dead inside a parked car. Bullet holes riddled the vehicle. A child's toy lay abandoned on the floor, and a single cryptic word appeared on the mother's phone: Jocko. That message would become the key to unraveling a complex web of relationships, betrayal, and murder. Authorities would discover surveillance footage, burned vehicles, and phone records that pointed to a suspect, but questions lingered. Was it revenge, jealousy, or a random act of violence? The case would expose hidden connections, possible motives, and evidence that blurred the lines between certainty and speculation. The investigation revealed the darkest sides of human behavior and the tragic consequences of unresolved conflicts. The community watched in disbelief as every detail emerged, leaving a trail of grief, suspicion, and unanswered questions that demanded justice. Stay with us as we unravel this shocking story and uncover the heartbreaking details of what led to this senseless loss. Before we begin, let us know in the comments, where are you watching from, and what are your thoughts as the story unfolds? Welcome to True Crime Tales, where we reveal the crimes that shock communities and the secrets hidden behind closed doors. These are real people, real events, real consequences. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Now let's begin. Arkia Berry, a 28-year-old hairstylist from Center Point, Alabama, was known for her dedication to her craft and her friendly demeanor. As a mother to 5-year-old Landon Brooks, she was deeply devoted to her son. Active on social media, she frequently shared family moments in her work, portraying a life filled with love and commitment. Landon Brooks, Arkia's only child, was an energetic and playful 5-year-old. He was passionate about football and school activities and was eagerly anticipating starting kindergarten shortly after his death. Described as inseparable from his mother, Landon's life was tragically cut short alongside hers. Eric Ashley Jr., 28, was Arkia's boyfriend and also resided in the Birmingham area. He had a close relationship with both Arkia and Landon, playing a central role in the events leading up to the crime. His connection to the victims and the circumstances surrounding their deaths remain a significant aspect of the ongoing investigation. On July 13, 2024, around 5 p.m., Arkia, Landon, and Eric were found dead inside a vehicle in the 1700 block of Indian Summer Drive in the Echo Highlands neighborhood of Birmingham. The vehicle, a blue Nissan Maxima, was riddled with bullet holes, and 20-30 shell casings were discovered nearby. Arkia was driving, Eric was in the front passenger seat, and Landon was in the back seat on the driver's side. A child's toy was found in the back seat, and the car doors were slightly ajar. Authorities initially responded to a 911 call reporting a possible car accident, but discovered it was a shooting upon arrival. Investigators believe an interaction took place between the occupants of the victim's vehicle and the suspect's vehicle in the area. Surveillance footage captured a green Kia Soul entering the neighborhood shortly before the shooting. The vehicle was later found burned, and the owner reported it stolen days prior, but had not filed a police report. Phone records revealed that Eric had contacts saved as Jocko and Jack, and messages indicated plans to meet. Additionally, Arkia sent a text reading Jocko just before her death. These pieces of evidence led to the identification of Jacorian Deshawn McGregor as a suspect in the triple homicide. Jacorian Deshawn McGregor, a 25-year-old from Birmingham, was arrested on February 24, 2025, in the 900 block of Vondale Lane. The Birmingham Police Department's Crime Reduction Team, in partnership with the U.S. Marshals Service Fugitive Task Force, apprehended McGregor. He was charged with capital murder for the deaths of Arkia, Eric, and Landon. Investigators presented case information to the Jefferson County District Attorney's Office, and after an assessment, detectives obtained a warrant for capital murder. McGregor is currently in custody without bond. A preliminary hearing was held on April 17, 2025, where detectives presented evidence linking McGregor to the crime. The defense argued that the text message from Arkia was insufficient evidence, emphasizing a lack of direct video proof of McGregor firing a weapon. The judge ruled that there was enough probable cause for the case to proceed to a grand jury. The tragic deaths of Arkia Berry, her son Landon Brooks, and Eric Ashley Jr. have left the community in shock. The investigation into their deaths continues, with Jacorian Deshaun McGregor facing charges for the triple homicide. As the legal proceedings unfold, the quest for justice for the victims remains a priority for law enforcement and the community alike. On July 13, 2024, in Birmingham, Alabama, a mother, her young son, and her boyfriend were found dead inside a vehicle in the Echo Highlands neighborhood. The case would later reveal a sequence of calculated actions and evidence pointing to a single suspect. At approximately 5:09 p.m., Arkia Berry, a 28-year-old hairstylist, sent a single-word text message from her phone, Jocko. The text, sent in the moments leading up to the incident, would become a pivotal piece of evidence that ultimately linked the suspect to the crime. Arkia was traveling in her Nissan Maxima with her 5-year-old son, Landon Brooks, and her boyfriend, 28-year-old Eric Ashley Jr. Landon, described by authorities as a young child full of energy, was seated in the back seat, while Eric was in the front passenger seat. At some point after entering the neighborhood, the vehicle was intercepted, and all 3 occupants were fatally shot. Law enforcement recovered between 20 and 30 shell casings at the scene, indicating the use of a high-power handgun. No witnesses initially came forward, and there was no immediate video capturing the act itself. The investigation began with the analysis of Arkia's final text. The one-word message Jocko was determined to refer to Jacorian Deshaun McGregor, a 25-year-old resident of Birmingham. Investigators hypothesized that the text was sent in the final seconds of her life, identifying the individual she believed responsible for the attack. The text would later serve as a critical piece of circumstantial evidence connecting McGregor to the triple homicide. In addition to the text message, law enforcement collected surveillance footage from the Echo Highlands neighborhood. The footage showed a lime green Kia Soul entering the area shortly before Arkia's vehicle arrived. The Kia Soul remained in the vicinity briefly before leaving shortly after the shooting. The vehicle was later discovered burned in an apparent attempt to destroy evidence. Witness accounts later confirmed that McGregor had been driving the Kia Soul at the time of the incident. These observations, combined with digital evidence, established both the timeline and presence of the suspect near the crime scene. Investigators also examined phone records belonging to both Eric Ashley Jr. and Jacorian McGregor. Eric's phone contained a contact saved as Jocko, and records indicate calls were made between Eric and that contact shortly before the shooting. McGregor's phone, in turn, contained messages advising him to lay low following the incident. This suggested an awareness of the gravity of the situation and established a potential link between him and the victims. The combination of communication data and Arkia's final message helped investigators construct a timeline leading to the events of July 13th. Forensic evidence played a central role in building the case. The recovered shell casings were matched to a high-powered handgun, consistent with firearms associated with McGregor. While no direct video evidence showed McGregor discharging the weapon, the ballistic matches, when combined with digital evidence, established a circumstantial chain linking him to the shooting. Law enforcement emphasized that the lack of direct video footage did not diminish the evidentiary weight of the collected items, including surveillance phones and the burned Kia Soul. Following the collection of evidence, law enforcement moved to apprehend Jacorian Deshaun McGregor. On February 24th, 2025, McGregor was arrested by the U.S. Marshals Gulf Coast Regional Fugitive Task Force in the 100 block of Freda Lane, Birmingham. He was reportedly attempting to avoid detection when authorities located him. During the arrest, a 9mm handgun later determined to have been stolen from the Birmingham area, was recovered from the vehicle McGregor was operating. He was charged with 3 counts of capital murder, corresponding to the deaths of Arkia Berry, Landon Brooks, and Eric Ashley Jr. A preliminary hearing was conducted on April 17, 2025, where law enforcement officials presented the evidence connecting McGregor to the crime. Detective Jarvelius Tolliver testified that the combination of Arkia's final text, phone records, surveillance footage, and forensic data provided sufficient probable cause. The court concluded that probable cause existed, and the case was forwarded to a grand jury for formal indictment. McGregor remained in custody without bond, awaiting further legal proceedings. The investigation highlighted the challenges faced when direct evidence is absent. While surveillance footage confirmed McGregor's presence near the scene, and phone records suggested communication and awareness, no video depicted him firing the weapon. Defense attorneys have argued that the evidence, particularly the text message, is insufficient to establish guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. Despite these arguments, prosecutors maintain that the cumulative evidence provides a clear link between McGregor and the triple homicide. Law enforcement also examined potential motives. While no public declaration of a motive has been made, authorities suspect prior personal conflicts or previous altercations may have contributed to the events. The victims' relationships, particularly between Eric Ashley Jr. and McGregor, are under scrutiny as investigators aim to understand the circumstances leading to the fatal encounter. All 3 victims appear to have been targeted specifically, as no other individuals in the area were harmed. The discovery of the burned Kia Soul further supports the hypothesis that the act was premeditated. Investigators surmise that the suspects sought to eliminate physical evidence immediately following the shootings. Coupled with the phone communications advising McGregor to hide in Arkia's identification of him in her final message, the case builds a narrative consistent with deliberate action rather than a spontaneous event. The combination of digital, physical, and forensic evidence makes the Arkia Berry case significant within criminal investigations. Arkia's final text, though brief, provided a starting point for identifying the suspect and constructing a timeline. Surveillance footage confirmed the suspect's vehicle near the scene and its subsequent destruction. Phone records established communication and potential planning. Finally, forensic analysis of shell casings linked a weapon to McGregor, consolidating the evidence. The case continues to unfold in the legal system. McGregor is currently facing charges for capital murder in Jefferson County, Alabama. The accumulation of evidence will be presented during trial, where the defense is expected to contest the reliance on circumstantial evidence. Law enforcement maintains that the combination of surveillance, phones, and forensic data provides a clear connection between the suspect and the triple homicide. In conclusion, the death of Arkia Berry, her son Landon Brooks, and Eric Ashley Jr. represent a coordinated and violent event. The investigation relied heavily on digital forensics, surveillance, and ballistic analysis to identify Jacorian Deshaun McGregor as the prime suspect. While challenges remain in establishing direct proof of firing the weapon, the comprehensive collection of evidence provides law enforcement with a strong foundation for prosecution. The case underscores the importance of prompt evidence collection, analysis of digital communications, and meticulous forensic investigation in solving complex violent crimes. On July 13, 2024, law enforcement responded to what was initially reported as a car accident in the Echo Highlands neighborhood of Birmingham, Alabama, specifically the 1700 block of Indian Summer Drive. Upon arrival, officers discovered a blue Nissan Maxima with multiple bullet holes and 3 individuals inside. The victims were identified as Arkia Berry, age 28, her son Landon Brooks, age 5, and her boyfriend Eric Ashley Jr., age 28. All 3 were pronounced dead at the scene from multiple gunshot wounds. Investigators recovered between 20 and 30 shell casings in close proximity to the vehicle, indicating a targeted shooting rather than a random act of violence. At the time of her death, Arkia Berry's phone contained a single text message reading Jocko, a message that would become central to identifying the suspect and understanding the circumstances surrounding the shooting. The following day, on July 14, 2024, law enforcement discovered a green Kia Soul that had been set on fire in a nearby location. Investigators confirmed the vehicle had been reported stolen several days prior to the shooting. Surveillance footage captured the same Kia Soul entering the neighborhood shortly before the incident, establishing a potential link between the burned vehicle and the crime. This discovery prompted investigators to expand their search for the suspect and gather additional evidence connecting the vehicle to the shooting. Investigators then analyzed phone and digital records from both Arkia Berry and Eric Ashley Jr. phone. Records revealed prior communications with a contact saved as Jocko or Jack, linking Eric to this individual. Further examination of Ja'Cory and Deshaun McGregor's phone, the eventual suspect, revealed messages advising him to lay low and to stay hidden, which authorities interpreted as evidence of awareness of crime and possible involvement. These communications became a critical component in connecting McGregor to the victims and establishing the timeline of events leading to the shooting. Following months of investigation, Ja'Cory and Deshaun McGregor, age 25, was arrested on February 24, 2025. The arrest took place in the 900 block of Ondale Lane in Birmingham and was conducted by the Birmingham Police Department's Crime Reduction Team in collaboration with the U.S. Marshal Service Fugitive Task Force and the state of Alabama Pardons and Parole. McGregor was charged with capital murder for the deaths of Arkia Berry, Landon Brooks, and Eric Ashley Jr., reflecting the severity of the incident and the evidence linking him to the crime. The next major step in the legal process occurred on April 17, 2025, when a preliminary hearing was held. Detective Jarvelius Tolliver presented evidence to the court linking McGregor to the triple homicide. Key pieces of evidence included the final text message sent by Arkia Berry, recovered shell casings that matched the firearm associated with McGregor, and digital communications connecting him to both Eric and Arkia. Based on the evidence presented, the court found probable cause to proceed, and McGregor was bound over to a grand jury for potential formal charges. This preliminary hearing confirmed that law enforcement had gathered sufficient material to move forward in the judicial process. Following the preliminary hearing, the grand jury was tasked with evaluating whether there was enough evidence to formally indict McGregor on charges of capital murder. The grand jury process involves a thorough review of all collected materials, including forensic evidence, surveillance footage, phone records, and witness testimony. The outcome of this review determines whether the case advances to trial, where a verdict on guilt or innocence will be established. During the preliminary hearing, the prosecution outlined a clear connection between McGregor and the victims. Evidence included the one-word text message from Arkia Berry identifying Jocko as the suspect, surveillance footage showing the green Kia Soul in the vicinity of the crime, and communications between Eric Ashley Jr. and contacts named Jocko and Jack. Additionally, investigators presented messages from McGregor advising him to lay low, which were interpreted as indicative of involvement in the crime. Collectively, this evidence established a logical link between McGregor and the victims, justifying a finding of probable cause by the court. The defense challenged the sufficiency of the evidence, arguing that the final text message alone was circumstantial and not definitive proof of McGregor's involvement. They emphasized that no surveillance footage captured McGregor actively committing the shooting, and no direct witnesses were able to place him at the exact moment of the crime. The defense's argument focused on the absence of direct evidence tying McGregor to the act itself, highlighting potential gaps in the prosecution's case. The grand jury continued to review the available evidence, evaluating whether materials presented were sufficient to support formal charges. This process is critical in ensuring that there is a legally justifiable basis to move forward with a trial. If the grand jury determines that the evidence meets the standard of probable cause, the case will proceed to trial, where the prosecution and defense would present their arguments in full. A potential trial is expected to explore several key aspects of the case. The prosecution would present evidence intended to establish motive, opportunity, and connection to the victims, while the defense would continue to challenge the strength and reliability of the evidence. The trial is also expected to provide a detailed reconstruction of events leading up to the shooting, the relationships between McGregor and the victims, and the sequence of actions on the day of the crime. The court would ultimately determine McGregor's guilt or innocence based on the weight of the evidence presented. Throughout this investigation and legal process, the case has highlighted the significance of digital evidence in modern criminal investigations. The text message sent by Arkia Berry in her final moments, combined with phone records, surveillance footage, and forensic evidence, became central to identifying the suspect and constructing a timeline of events. This demonstrates a critical role technology plays in solving complex criminal cases and establishing accountability. In summary, the timeline of events in the Arkia Berry triple homicide case demonstrates a systematic investigation and legal procedure following a violent crime. From the initial discovery of the victims on July 13, 2024, to the burning of the suspect's vehicle the next day, through phone and digital evidence linking McGregor to the incident, his arrest in February 2025, the preliminary hearing in April 2025, and the ongoing grand jury review, each stage represents a key component in pursuing justice. The case remains under active legal consideration, with a potential trial expected to provide further clarity regarding the motives, relationships, and circumstances surrounding this triple homicide. The investigation underscores a methodical approach taken by law enforcement and the judicial system in handling serious violent crimes, demonstrating the intersection of technology, forensic evidence, and legal proceedings in modern criminal justice. On July 13, 2024, Birmingham, Alabama, experienced a tragedy that would shock the local community and capture national attention. Arkia Berry, a 28-year-old hairstylist, her 5-year-old son Landon Brooks, and her boyfriend Eric Ashley Jr., 28, were found dead inside a vehicle in the Echo Highlands neighborhood. The crime scene revealed a car riddled with bullet holes, a child's toy lying on the backseat floor, and 20 to 30 shell casings scattered nearby. Initial reports to 911 suggested a car accident, but responding officers quickly realized the extent of the violence and confirmed that the 3 individuals had been shot multiple times. Arkia's final act before death became a pivotal piece of evidence in the investigation. Her last text message, containing only the word Jocko, was sent to identify the alleged killer. This message later pointed investigators toward Jacorian Deshaun McGregor, 25, who became the central suspect in the case. The discovery of the text created immediate public interest, as it represented a rare instance of a victim directly naming their alleged assailant moments before being killed. The community response was immediate. Residents of Birmingham expressed shock and grief, grappling with the brutal loss of a mother and child, along with an adult male intimately connected to the family. The nature of the crime, occurring in a familiar neighborhood and involving a young child, amplified the impact. Public conversations centered on the senselessness of the violence and the vulnerability of ordinary lives to sudden and irreversible events. Vigils were held, and neighbors and friends sought to understand how such a tragedy could occur within their community. Media coverage played a significant role in shaping public awareness. Local and national outlets reported extensively on the events surrounding the shooting. News stories highlighted Arkia's final text, the discovery of the victims, the burned green Kia Soul linked to the suspect, and the shell casings found at the scene. Reporting also emphasized the arrest of Jacorian McGregor in February 2025, which was carried out with the assistance of the U.S. Marshals Service. Coverage presented a timeline of events and summarized available forensic evidence, ensuring that the public remained informed as new developments occurred. The detailed reporting helped maintain attention on the case, particularly given the involvement of a 5-year-old child, whose death magnified public concern. Social media became a platform for public expression, mourning, and calls for justice. Residents and sympathizers posted tributes for Arkia and Landon, sharing memories and condemning the violent actions that ended their lives. Hashtags such as #Justice for Kia and Landon trended locally, and social media activity intensified the sense of urgency surrounding the investigation. Online conversations also facilitated community solidarity, allowing residents to voice concern, provide information to authorities, and demand accountability. As investigators delved deeper, disturbing details about the suspect emerged. Jacorian McGregor had a criminal history that included violations of felony probation and charges such as first-degree robbery and receiving stolen property. Reports confirmed that McGregor had a record of legal entanglements prior to the shooting, which drew attention to his potential motives and past associations. The suspect's criminal background heightened public outrage and reinforced perception that law enforcement faced a complex case involving a known offender with access to firearms and prior criminal contacts. Despite McGregor's arrest, numerous questions about the case remain unresolved. The exact motive for the triple homicide has not been publicly clarified. Investigators have not definitively stated whether the killings were the result of personal revenge, jealousy, or an unresolved dispute. This lack of clarity continues to fuel public speculation and contributes to the difficulty of fully understanding the circumstances that led to the deaths of Arkia, Landon, and Eric. Additionally, the specific nature of McGregor's relationship with the victims, particularly Eric Ashley Jr. and Arkia Berry, has not been fully disclosed. Phone records indicate prior communication between Eric and McGregor, but the precise nature and context of their interactions remain unknown. Understanding this relationship is critical to determining potential motives, the sequence of events, and any pre-existing conflicts that may have escalated into lethal violence. The sufficiency of the evidence against McGregor is another significant area of focus. Arkia's final text message is central to the prosecution's case, but it is inherently circumstantial. Defense attorneys have argued that the text, while compelling, does not constitute definitive proof of McGregor's involvement in the shootings. Furthermore, the absence of video footage showing the suspect actively firing a weapon and the lack of direct physical evidence at the scene complicate the path to conviction. Investigators are therefore tasked with corroborating the text message with additional forensic and testimonial evidence to build a prosecutable case. Investigators have also not ruled out the possibility of additional individuals being involved. While McGregor is charged with the murders, authorities continue to explore leads that could indicate whether he acted alone or with assistance. This ongoing inquiry reflects the complexity of the case and the need to account for all possible actors, relationships, and circumstances that may have contributed to the crime. The conclusion of this case remains pending, but its impact is evident. The deaths of Arkia Berry, Landon Brooks, and Eric Ashley Jr. underscore the vulnerability of ordinary lives to sudden and extreme acts of violence. Birmingham community continues to mourn, seeking answers and accountability while navigating the realities of loss and grief. Legal proceedings are ongoing, and each new piece of evidence or court development brings both clarity and further questions, reflecting the intricate nature of modern criminal investigations. This case also serves as a cautionary reminder of the consequences of unresolved tensions and conflicts. Hidden disputes, when unaddressed, can escalate into irreversible actions with devastating consequences. The story of Arkia, Landon, and Eric emphasizes the importance of vigilance, communication, and timely intervention in personal disputes. Moreover, it highlights the role of community engagement, media oversight, and law enforcement diligence in responding to violent crimes, ensuring public safety and pursuing justice. As the trial continues, attention remains focused on achieving a fair and just resolution. Public interest, legal scrutiny, and media coverage persist, emphasizing the need for comprehensive investigative work and clear presentation of evidence. The case illustrates the challenges of modern criminal prosecution, where circumstantial evidence, digital records, and historical context must be carefully weighed to reach an informed conclusion. Ultimately, the tragedy of July 13, 2024 remains a stark example of the unpredictability of violence and its consequences. Arkia Berry's final act, a single text message, represents both a plea for justice and a critical piece of evidence. The lives of mother, her young son, and her boyfriend were abruptly ended, leaving a community in mourning and a legal system striving to deliver accountability. The events continue to resonate as an example of the human cost of unresolved disputes and the persistent effort required to bring clarity and justice to such cases. If you found this story as gripping and heartbreaking as we did, don't forget to like this video and share it with others. And if you want to hear more true crime stories that uncover the mysteries behind these tragic events, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell. You won't want to miss our latest stories, updates, and discussions. Thank you for joining us on this journey to seek justice and explore the truth. Together, we can make a difference. Until next time, stay safe and stay aware.